Brews and Banner Podcast. Brews and Banner Podcast. What up? Welcome to Brews and Banner Podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I got water, I got, juice or whatever. It's like, y'all need twin legs? Matter of fact, I do.
My question to everybody is, does Delaware have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world, politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
Get it, little gate. Get it, little.
42, make me do some crazy good. Now he's shaking, counting crazy bags, mixing blue with the green.
That's Megan.
Sound like that was Megan.
I thought it was appropriate because it was called movie.
Oh, okay. I see. There you go. I see what you're doing there. You always got a little something under your sleeve.
Hey Rob, I don't know. Can you run that banner at the bottom, the Delaware Beer Fest banner at the bottom with the Brew Crew code at the bottom?
I probably could have.
All right. Once we go live, it won't let you.
We are live now.
Right.
We got the Delaware Beer Fest coming up next week, October the 9th. Go to DelawareBeerFest.com.
For your co-host.
Promo code will give you a discount. The Brews and Banner are the co-hosts of this event. We will see you on Saturday if you decide to show up.
I think it's only 75. It was 75 tickets of Thursday that was left. I don't know how many.
75 tickets left. Whoa! That means it's only 56 tickets left.
Yeah. All right. What up? Welcome to Bruising Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rocket and the brew. Will that be the fuel? And I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, the Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, fellas?
Hey. How y'all doing?
What is going on, everyone?
Everything is good. Everything is great. It's another beautiful day.
Difficulties on my side. Am I having the technical difficulties?
No, you sound fine.
No. Okay, good. Because y'all starting to freeze up on me. You parking lot, I don't know how long I'm gonna make it.
Wow, so it might be your joint that is a little rack. I guess I don't know.
It reminded me of that one episode when the real L Sharpton. Remember what was he sitting in, like a Lincoln Navigator with the roof above him? You look real presidential today, Lou. Your scenery, your background's changed.
It could be parking lot pimping. I appreciate you. I'm on location.
You're on location.
I'm on location.
Yeah.
All right. This is episode 137 of Bruising Banter Podcast. That sounds right. Pretty sure.
Right.
137. And we do have some great guests with us today. We have the creative team behind the documentary One Pint at a Time.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, I want to bring in Aaron and Brigitte Hosé.
Aaron and Brigitte with the B, right? Hey,
welcome to the podcast. Thanks for having us on.
We appreciate it.
Oh man, anytime on a Sunday. Pouring up,
thank you
right?
very much for coming on.
Pouring up
Thank
on
you
a
for
Sunday.
doing what you did.
Yeah. Before we get into it, we always like to know what everybody is drinking. So what are we drinking today? And since you are our guest, we will ask you, what are you drinking today?
So we're having Alice from Greenfinch.
Okay.
Ooh.
His signature foeder fermented, sour.
Nice.
It's incredible.
I didn't get to try that, but I had Greenfinch.
Sour ale, foeder fermented in our house, mixed culture and aged in wine barrels. And it's blend number 1. So
is it that wasn't poured at Barrels and Flow, was it?
Yes.
It was. Okay, all right. Okay, I wasn't sure. I tasted the other.
He did bring Alice with him.
He did. Okay. What's the ABV?
5.5.
Nice.
It's Sunday, man. I can't go too high today.
It's all gravy. What's the pour? What's the color? Show us the.
Oh, here.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
That's nice. That's nice. Nice sour.
Yeah, that's nice.
It is delicious.
For sure.
Any more prominent flavors, one more than the other? What you taste?
I couldn't say.
Goodness, just all goodness.
I do like it. That's it.
It's just good.
Refreshing. Good.
That's all that matters. I just like it.
Yeah, we don't always break down flavors like you guys do.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
we just like it.
It's good. It tastes good. It's
makes you feel good.
Not smooth, thick, not thick, silky. It's going down.
Yeah.
Right, there you go.
True.
For me, the
Like
higher
that.
the gravity, the better. So that's all. That's my thing.
Oh, all right.
That's like Devin.
But not today.
Not today.
But not today.
Not today.
So
Got
Bruce
things
Banner,
to do.
we always rate our beers. Pass me another if you really like it. We like have just one if it's kosher, and leave it in the cooler if it's not your style. So how would you rate that Green Bench
Alice
sour beer? Alice.
It's amazing. I mean, if
Pass me another.
if I could do like a star rating, it would be 4.95 out of 5.
There it is.
Listen here. Hold on. We don't do star ratings.
We do. Pass me another. I'll have just one, or keep it in the cooler. Thank you, Lou.
He said it. Pass him another one then.
Yes.
Pass
Pass
him
me
twice.
Good.
There it is.
Good. It sounds delicious.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, Dev, what are you drinking on?
You should actually.
I'm also drinking in a Barrels and Flow
already
beer. This is a collaboration from the Harlem Brew South and Evergreen Brewing, 1946. This is a lager with orange peel.
It's one of the best we had at that event.
You did, yeah. This was also in the pack. But I only scored one can of it. I didn't get to taste this at Flow Fest. So this is my first time cracking the can, and
I think that was the first beer we tasted at Flow Fest when we
this
got
one?
there.
This is before.
Yeah.
So this I think still traditional lager. I don't think I can really taste the orange peel kind of like jump at me. More, I think on the back end, I think maybe is where I taste maybe some orange, but on the front.
I noticed that a lot with lagers, Dev. If they put like any type of fruit in a lager, it's always on the back end. It's never like at the forefront. It's even hard to. Can you smell it? Sometimes it's not even in the nose.
Little bit, not too much. Not too much.
Yeah, it's always subtle.
And this is the can, but this is a 5.2% ABV, and it just has some the significance of 1946 is a tribute to more than 10,000 courageous black leaf tobacco workers in eastern North Carolina who cast their first vote in Operation Dixie for better working conditions and better pay, a precursor to the civil rights movement. Harlem Brew South is located in that historic tobacco warehouse. If you guys didn't know, that's Celeste's building that she constructed. Yeah. Shout out to Celeste. And this is definitely a pass me another.
Yeah, that's word.
I love because he sounded like he wasn't confident. He was like, his voice went lower and lower as he got.
Me?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't sure.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Lou, what you drinking on?
My beverage comes from Florida. It is
orange juice,
green in color. It is
Tropicana.
No.
It's okay. He said orange.
It has a fireball on it, and it is an ABV of 0.0. Good old Gatorade.
All right, yeah.
Like I said, I'm on location. There's no way I could drink beer and coach a basketball game. I think it's irresponsible of me. I mean, you could,
right.
But I want the kids to respect me afterwards, and I don't want to. You know how I like to get technicals, Yoda. I want to be sober when I get my technicals, not drunk.
Yeah, I watched the movie where there was an alcoholic basketball coach. I think Ben Affleck played the character. I can't remember what it was called. It was a good movie though.
Okay.
How far before you jump? How far is the tournament away? like in hours or?
It's in Downingtown,
Okay,
Pennsylvania. So it's like an hour from my house.
322. Headed up to
right off of 322.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, we want to know for the morning.
Good. Let's get that win. That's what we want, Bear.
You can grab you a beer after your win.
Yeah, have that beer.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna grab me and all the kids a beer.
All right.
Okay. Well, cut that out. Hey, that was Lou Belgium. That's
a root beer, 0.0%.
Right, get them some root beer. That's right, get them some root beer. There you go. Clean up. Yeah.
I'm gonna figure out a way for you to play that every week from now on, Rob. You gotta play that every week from now on.
Yeah. Whoa, that was horrible.
Sure.
So,
all right, yo, what you drinking on?
What I'm drinking is one of these weird ass sours, Warhead Jones from Artisanal Brewing, or is it brewing? Brewworks from somewhere in New York, right? Where are they from? Saratoga Springs, New York. I knew it was.
Oh yeah,
New York.
okay. I've been in Saratoga.
It's a 5% sour ale, as you can see. Look at that can, and I haven't even tasted it yet, but the green of the look at that shit.
Oh, look at that.
Nah,
that look like Gatorade. That look like loose Gatorade.
Oh, by the way, before you even mention start Yoda, my Gatorade is definitely a pass me another. I just wanted.
Nobody care about that hot ass Gatorade
on an 80-degree day.
It's not hot. It's definitely not hot. It's not hot.
It look like it's cold.
It's 80 plus here today.
It's at the end of it, but it's still refreshing. It's still refreshing.
Gotcha.
What's it taste like, Yoda?
Like Gatorade.
Does it? With a little fizz in there?
Yeah, it really does taste like a Gatorade though. But you can taste the it does taste sour, like a hint of the sour apple, but it tastes like sour apple candy. But it's not really as sour as I thought it was gonna be.
As a Warhead.
Being a Warhead, yeah. I had the other ones and I didn't like
you kinda
this is all right.
Out of the four of us, you kind of sort of Warhead flavored beers. They ever have the hot flavors? Remember Warheads was sour and they were hot. Remember that? Back in the day, the candy was hot and sour.
Yeah.
They don't have no sour, no hot.
Not the Warheads though.
You haven't seen them?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
That's why I got the explosion, because it was hot.
Man, because it was extra sour. That was the explosion.
That was the explosion.
Man, you talking about some
some fireballs. Right. They did make like a hot sour candy. I think they did.
Man, I don't remember no hot and spicy.
I mean, it might have been a hot one, but the sour, the head explosion was for the extreme.
Yeah, that's the original like logo of it.
Yeah, but I would say I would just drink one of these only because it's weird with the sour apple. But like it's
sour apple is one of my favorite flavors. Candies, though.
Is it?
Yeah, I like sour, like Jolly Rancher. Like
I used
sour
to like
apple,
them, but for some reason they make me cough. I don't know what that means. Yeah.
and speaking of Saratoga Springs would be a good road trip, fellas, if we ever wanted to do it. It's not an easy way to fly there, but if we did a road trip there,
it's an easy way to fly there. I don't think I want to go.
It's kind of weird location to get there. So, but driving would be dope.
Sounds like get out.
Okay.
2 planes. You gotta take 2 planes, a train, and a hydro boat.
Yeah,
you may be there.
It's not easy, especially it's not easy to get there.
Yeah, but Artisanal, they've been doing all right with the stuff that I have from them so far. But this is
where they out of? Did you mention that?
Yeah, Saratoga.
Where they out of? Did you mention it?
That's where we was just talking.
Saratoga,
New York. Saratoga.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Never mind. Don't even worry about it. I think I got
You sure that Gatorade not spiked?
I don't know.
I said I wasn't drinking a beer today.
It's not. There's nothing in there.
You surely ain't drinking
Rob
driving.
G.
You're doing something else.
Yes, sir.
How are you today, sir?
I'm well. What am I drinking?
Okay, what are you drinking? What are you drinking on?
I am drinking actually another Barrel and Flow joint. The seeds,
3 for 5.
The seed, stalk, and root is the Cajun Fire and the Brooklyn Brewery.
Nice.
Collab, which is a Faneo grain and molasses dark lager. And it is dark.
What's Faneo? What is Faneo?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's an African heritage grain, also called an ancient grain. I knew someone was going to ask me that, so I had to make sure I had
you already know. I'm filming.
Hey, he was ready.
Thank you,
Rob. He was ready, Rob.
Right.
Nice.
Be ready. Don't have to get ready, baby.
That's right.
That's because Robert was like, "What the hell is that?" And he had to look it up anyway.
He's like, I don't know. I know these jokers going to ask.
I figured it was an African grain, but I wanted to be sure because of the can. Well, because it said this invokes the foodways of the Africans and their ancestral lands and in the American South. So I figured that it had something to do with some of the things, but there's some definitely heavy molasses flavor to it. I mean, it is dark lager. Right? There it is. That is the color, but it's good. I mean, I like lagers and I like dark lagers. Obviously, I must like this because I enjoyed this. So it's past me another. So shout out to John and the fellas at Cajun Fire and
right.
And Garrett at Brooklyn Brewing.
What's the ABV on that
joint? This is
6.5.
6.5.
Were either you surprised that neither Garrett or John weren't at the Flow Fest, even though they did the collaboration for it? I almost feel like that. I mean, it had to be some conflict. You don't have to figure it out, but I just wondered if anybody knew some inside scoop of why they did a collaboration. It sounds like everybody knows.
I know Garrett had a prior engagement.
The Hurricane.
The Hurricane.
Garrett was at the Beard conference.
Make it last minute.
Yeah, that affected Cajun Fire, and Garrett was going to
they were going to
beer conference,
the Denver Beer Conference. So it was a conflict of schedule for Garrett.
Yeah, because remember we were never mind. Yeah.
Okay.
So there were some things that were outside of their control.
Got you.
That made them, but they still want to be a part of it. So
they I mean, the beer is good.
So it was delicious. So I enjoyed it. All right. Yeah, I look like everybody has a great thing to sit on as we talk more about this documentary and what was the
sipping
catalyst behind it. So without further ado, I want to thank again Aaron and Brigitte for coming on, and actually the floor is yours.
First of all, who is Aaron Ibragit?
Yes, tell us about the collab, the couple, the duo.
Woo. Okay, let's see. So I started out as an engineering student, and this is like in the early to mid 90s in college, and I just one day had a moment, one of those eureka moments where you have an experience and it kind of changes your perspective. So for me, it was watching a film that changed my perspective about just my future, because the film was about creating your own destiny and not leaving it to fate's hands. So I kind of decided at that point that I wanted to make other people feel the way I felt when I left that film. And the way I could do it is by making films. I kind of fell in love with cinema, and I kind of started watching more and more and more movies, and I quit engineering school and I drove an hour and a half inland. We're talking like Florida Space Coast. So I drove inland to Orlando, and I went to Valencia College, and I got a film associate's degree and started freelancing, doing convention work and concert work, because it's a big convention market here in Orlando.
Okay.
Doing commercials and corporate video, nonprofit video, and eventually just started teaching myself how to create videos and direct and produce and edit and stuff like that. Because at Valencia, they taught you how to be a good crew member. So like how to do audio and be a camera assistant and work with the lights and very minimal editing. But they did that so that you would be easy to hire right out of school. Because they're not going to hire a director, right out of school, but they'll hire a crew member and you can work your way up in any branch that you want. So in the late, I'd say like early 2000s, that's kind of when I started making documentary films. And I always found that documentaries were interesting because they serve a bigger purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I watched the documentaries and fell in love with documentary filmmaking is because, you can amplify voices that are being silenced, right? Through your work. You can impact change. Maybe not big, but you can move the needle. You can start conversations by raising awareness. There's a number of different things you can do in documentary film, which makes that genre so interesting. Plus, it was a lot easier to fund documentaries than going out and making a narrative film where you need actors and a producer and a bigger crew and all. With docs, you can keep it intimate. And you can build a relationship with the subjects whose lives you're following and make what's personal to them personal to you. So, that's kind of how I got into doc filmmaking, and I'd made a number of features and shorts over the years, starting around 2003. And in 2005, I took a break, went back home because I'm born in Texas, raised in Aruba. She was born and raised in Aruba. So I was going back to visit family during the Christmas holidays in 2005, and that's where we met.
Nice.
And started dating. She eventually moved here. We got married. She moved here, quit her job, moved here. And then I just kind of
believed in you, boy. Woo!
yeah, and we just kind of.
It was an easier move for me. Well, not easy, but work-wise, right? You being a filmmaker, documentarian, was better for us to be here than back home in Aruba.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the types of.
Although it's beautiful in Aruba, I hear.
Yeah, and there are a lot of careers in Aruba that you can have, but filmmaker was tough.
Yeah.
Was tough.
You can be like a commercial director,
right?
You could make a good living, but being a filmmaker and making features, documentaries or narratives, that's not the market.
Gotcha.
And I was already establishing, my network here and my experiences here, so it was easier for her to come here, and she moved, and we came together and we created like a partnership called Two Hands, 20 Fingers. So everything that we do, I direct and edit primarily, and she's like the main producer, and we bounce ideas off of each other. And she's my muse, so I work easily.
Well, we're a good team. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But she's the boss.
We know. We already know that. We are. You don't got to tell us that.
Keep checking to make sure the story correct. I see him keep checking over at you. Okay.
He every once in a while he's looking like, am I right, babe? Am I saying the right thing?
Yeah.
Good summary.
Am I going off script? No.
You got this. Yeah.
So
she probably give you a little foot tap on, underneath the camera lens. Pop, pop.
So, and she, I've taught her a lot of technical things too.
Through the years, I've learned some things as well about filmmaking, documentary, producing, that side of it as well. So, yeah.
So, producing, what does that entail?
Well, you need to make sure that first of all you have the money, right, to do what you need to do.
Budget
is involved. Looking for the location. Contacting people, just the production part of it, as it says, producing the production.
Yep, it's all that logistics and making sure the bills are paid and making sure you're okay to film where you need to be.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's also very big picture conceptual.
Yeah.
Like this idea that I have or someone else on the crew has ultimately work.
Yeah.
When it when it lands in the audience's eyes.
Also when he's the editor as well, right? So when he's editing, so we've been filming for 4 years, right? Pint film, so we have a lot of footage. So yes, we want to put a lot of things in there. And when he's so focused on editing, at some point you kind of have to step back and say, will this work? And that's where I can give my input as well, because I have a different perspective on it, right? Like a fresh perspective on the whole thing. Yeah.
I don't know if this is early in the conversation to ask, but you said 4 years of footage. How do y'all narrow that down into an hour and a half? Like that's
so
that's a good question, Luke.
Right? Yeah. So basically, I'll walk you through it real quick. So we started. It was like production / research and development on the same trip during Fresh Fest year one, summer of 2018. And we went out there to kind of meet people whose stories we might want to follow, and anyone who of anyone who wanted to participate in the film, and also to kind of experience the first ever Black Beer Festival, which we were surprised never had been done before. So think about that. So 2018, 19, 20, and 21, we're shooting all those years. So we cast the film, and Fresh Fest was also like a fourth character because we have three main brewers.
Right.
And it's just at some point you just got to start making like a creative outline because you know what you have, and it's like, okay, what scenes do I have with these brewers, and and you have to kind of construct kind of impose a 3-act structure like a narrative film has.
Okay.
It flows, and maybe there's some kind of transformation that you can show by the end of the film, or at least show that there's progress. Don't you know what I'm saying? And get dramatic conflict out. All those things you just got to kind of lay it out on paper and structure it that way before you actually start editing.
So are you like outlining what you want kind of the documentary to be first, right? And then making sure that when you're in that environment that like, okay, I got to go after this shoot, this shot, or this, this setting or whatever. Okay.
It's roughly like that because some of it you're just hunting and gathering because you really don't know what's going to happen. You might have some hopes and desires when you're out shooting, but it doesn't always pan out that way.
Yep.
Right. And once you get the footage back, you're looking at it like, okay,
I can use this.
And you kind of annotate what you have. This is the market, and this is the best stuff, and that goes in its own folder. And you kind of keep the best of that stuff, and the rest you just kind of see if you need it. If you don't, you don't. And then you just, when you're in the moment sometimes and you're capturing something really great, you feel it. You're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And those are, for me, those are ultimately all of the things that ended up in the film. It's like 4 years, roughly 20 something odd terabytes of footage, right? I used to be able to say 200 hours or 300 hours of tape. This digital age, I'm going to say 20 terabytes of footage. I don't know how many hours, but 20 plus terabytes of footage because we were also shooting in 4K. So, and then you narrow that down. Originally, we had it in May. We had our first cut, and it was almost 2 hours long. And then it was like, okay, so this is going to go out to the film festival circuit. So we got to bring it down to a program-friendly runtime. The film festival is going to program this if it's at a certain length, because you got to consider the subject matter, the impact, and how many festivals are going to want to get into this whole beer thing for 2 hours?
Okay.
But they might do it for 80 something minutes. What we ended up with, just a smidge under an hour and a half officially. So, and that's a very friendly theatrical viewing experience. We find sitting in a theater, an hour and a half, you get it all. It's great. A streaming friendly and a festival friendly runtime. So that's kind of where we landed.
Just to backtrack, because Lou took us to question 117 on the question sheet. Right. But I know Aaron had told us about his love of filmmaking and how he got there, but we didn't go to Brigitte in terms of how, did you already like filmmaking, or was it something that he seduced you into filmmaking?
She adopted it. She gave up her job. She said, I'm supporting his game.
It just happened gradually. Yeah, it just happened gradually.
Okay.
My background in Aruba, I was doing communications for the government, immigration office. Still, trying to be as creative as you can be in that type of role.
Yeah.
But filmmaking was more, after we got married, and through the years it happened.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm about to pull a Dev on everybody because I see 2 awards behind your shoulder.
Hey.
Is that 2 awards?
Background, we're background watchers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cover this.
Let's see.
Why cover it? It's there. You earned it.
You can grab it.
Wait, let me show you this one.
So So the ones that are not behind me are the ones that we're the most proud of.
Oh, okay.
Which are our Emmys.
Oh, fancy. We got Emmy winners.
I thought that was an Emmy.
I put it up there so I can use it as a motivator.
Right.
Yes. Because where you're sitting now. Got it.
Yeah, and I have a wall with framed ones that I didn't win nominated for, so it just keeps fueling me.
Okay, nice.
That is amazing. Now, what year is that Emmy, and what does the front of it say?
2008.
2008. I've never seen an Emmy this up close and personal. So you got to say, read what's on the front, please. I'm intrigued. This is a big deal.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, because I'm not ashamed to share this. This is a regional Emmy. It's from the Suncoast region. So
sure.
The Suncoast region covers Florida, Puerto Rico, parts of Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana.
Okay.
And this was for work that I did within the region. So
yes,
the national Emmy, the ones that you see in daytime news and documentary, those are a little bit bigger. They're a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Okay. But
it's the exact same design.
Yeah.
Got it.
Same design.
We are looking at a regional. I'm just catching Lou up. We're looking at a regional Emmy, Lou, in front of us right now.
Yeah, I just seen the Emmy.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's an Emmy.
Yeah,
regional or national, international. It's an Emmy. God damn it. That's
beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, congratulations.
Never don't stop saying Emmy.
So
I'm look. That's like when you get that plaque on the wall. I don't care if it's gold or platinum. It's that plaque from Billboard.
Yeah, and you know what? If you wouldn't have said what type of Emmy it was, I wouldn't have known.
I would have said it's an Emmy.
No, but it's
awesome.
Anyway.
No, he had to watch him put it up there. Be careful.
Yeah.
Right where I had it.
You made me lose my train of thought.
You got that. Make sure you got it turned and tweaked the way I had it.
You know what? That thought. Never mind. Just as long as it's right. Go back now.
Yeah.
So what was that?
Those are my motivators to continue to do the best work I can possibly do, which is why I didn't just whip up this film and put it out in the world. I wanted to make sure it was the right moment, because we had a very, y'all have seen the film, and we had a very different film that we were cooking up originally, and then things just weren't working the way I had hoped for. Like, Dev mentioned about the outline. It was like we had kind of a different outline and hope. And then the pandemic happened, and then that really, in a weird way, made the film better. It took in a whole different direction because the beer industry went in a whole different direction after that.
Right.
So speaking of that, what even made you say, I want to do a documentary about Black folks and beer? Like, what made you say, that's an idea?
Or as your shirt says, the reshaping of future craft beer in America. I think just broader.
What was the impetus
to Rob's question?
I think for us, it started as brown people, right, going through breweries and being the only people of color in the brewery as patrons, and not seeing anyone in there as patrons or behind the bar, and that just sparked our interest. How come it's like that? Why aren't more of us breweries? And I think that sparked the curiosity to go and explore and find out more about the industry itself.
Yeah, and then we did some research, and some of those staggering Brewers Association stats, were like, 1% is African American. It's like, really? That's it? And we, African Americans, they drink beer.
Right.
More than 1% of the population drink beer. So that's kind of why we wanted to do that. And the other thing too is beer documentaries is kind of like this tiny subgenre of documentary, and all the beer films feature white brewers.
Right. Yep.
Beer is great. These are the ingredients. Beer is amazing. Here's a white brewer. Blah 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 blah. And then Garrett Oliver. And then white brewers. And then Garrett Oliver.
Right.
Because he's always been gracious in giving an interview for a TV series that deals with beer or films, and then so we wanted to do something that shined a light exclusively on the Black beer experience, because we felt it was time for something like this, especially given the history of beer making. And you know, Rob has the hat that says it all. That's it. Beer is Black history. And very few people in this country know that. Even Black people who drink beer, very few know that. You know, and you realize that in Africa today, still a lot of the African countries, they brew beer. Women brew beer communally. You know, and then you look at the juxtaposition here, it's white males. Like mothers and grandmothers and whatnot here, and then white dudes. Well, now it's a lot different from 4 years ago when we started the project in a good way. So hopefully that'll only mean progress moving forward. But at the time that we decided to make the film, it was just like, whoa, my goodness. So that's why going to Fresh Fest, that one in 2018, and really for the first time seeing diversity at a beer event. Like, you know, there were white people, Hispanics, a lot of Black people, but it highlighted Black brewers and beer brand owners, and that was
change your life just like it changed ours.
It was special, and we realized that it was a historic moment for everyone there to witness that. You know, and that was the reason why we also made like a short documentary just about that event, called The Fresh Perspective, which we had sent out. We started sending it out to film festivals as a way to pre-market one pint at a time to let festivals know we're expanding this into a feature because there's a lot more to talk about with regards to these issues. And even beyond this film going into next year, we're trying to develop this into like a TV series concept. And you know, so that's maybe jumping ahead in the conversation. But
I know that when I was looking at when I looked at the documentary, I kind of like looked at it and then took out the beer aspect of it, because even if you take out the beer aspect of it, it's a documentary about what's going on in society, period. Like, not just in the beer industry, it's everywhere. And so I kind of like that it was about the beer, but it to me was more about society, period. And so that's what my takeaway from the documentary was. But it also made me think about whether I wanted to brew beer or not. Because I tried, but that documentary make you want to really try to get into it. For real.
Well, not for us though. It's a lot of work. I'd rather just drink it. And
he's like, forget about
editorial work.
It is.
Appreciation, admiration for the people who do it, but it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yoda, I appreciate that feedback, because when we were shooting, and that kind of informed a lot of the questions that we would, ask our brewers and folks that we interviewed. It really wasn't about what's the favorite kind of beer you like to make and why, and what's your favorite beer you like to drink and why, and the ingredients and the minutia, because you're going to lose your audiences. You have to make it a humanistic story.
Right.
That is relatable to minority small business owners in any industry.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Right. And then you have to think, like, as much as people drink beer, a lot of people don't. But the documentary has to be able to connect to those people that aren't there for the beer. And what Yoda said, y'all did a good job of just connecting it as an American story.
Yeah.
That expands to Africa,
Well, that too, and it needs to be. I mean, because for the Black audience, right? Okay, this is what we go through, right? This is recognizable, maybe, but also for the non-white or non-Black audience, right? So we want them to see as well. Okay, this is what the experience is like. It's have it as a teaching moment, let's say, or school as well. To teach them more about, hey, this is why it's important for you, maybe as a brewery, to be more open to inclusion and a more diverse workforce.
Now speaking of just in terms of, I know you had mentioned earlier that like Fresh Fest was like the fourth character, but you had Alisa from Rhythm Brewing, John from Cajun Fire, and the gentleman from Bissett. I don't know why I can't remember his name.
Houston.
That's probably why, because it was a city. That might throw me off. But what was the, I guess, the initial reasoning between those three individuals? Is it because regionally they were all in different regions? Was it like, how did that all come together?
Well, Elisa, we had actually interviewed for a fresh perspective when we took that first trip to Pittsburgh. So we already had some stuff with her, and she was very welcoming, inviting us to go to Connecticut and see, how she does her thing. So that was a no-brainer. And the fact that she was, the first Black brewer, male or female, in Connecticut, that is even a bigger deal for me.
Right.
And her energy and charisma, and the fact that she's a professional dance choreographer, Latin dance. I mean, this is all these layers of it just that I saw that it would play well on screen. And as you saw some of the, the salsa school and all that stuff, it's just, you see that brewers, not all brewers do this full time. They have other jobs. They have to balance multiple jobs,
multiple passions.
And then
all these dimensions,
their personal lives and family and whatnot. So that was her. Houston, it was because we met Houston at a festival that we went to literally the week after we got back from Fresh Fest in 2018. We took a quick break. We went to Tampa for the Halfway There Festival, which is a festival they put on halfway between each Tampa Bay Beer Week every year.
Okay.
So it's usually in August. And we went there, and it was just one of those things again. Him and us and maybe 2 or 3 other people at this big beer event were the only people of color. So we hit it off. We just shoot the breeze, and we connected over Zoom, and we just talked. Well, Zoom, it wasn't Zoom at the time. It was more like Skype, because this is 2018.
Right.
We talked. We developed a relationship. We went and visited him at his home, where as you saw in the film, he was brewing out of his home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So, and he was like, yeah, but I've had this brand. My partner and I've had this brand for 4 or 5 years. So that's already, for me, the interesting about the documentary is you get to document something that happens from point A to point B, and you get to show the progress.
Right.
The fact that he was, I'd say, only the 3rd or 4th Black professional brewer in the state of Florida, that we could show his journey and talk about some of the struggles and kind of, celebrate whatever, the successes that you see. And with John, it was more, I love New Orleans personally. Just culturally, I love it. We've been there. It's a great place to go. It's so dynamic, vibrant, and it's not even Mardi Gras stuff. Just to go.
Right.
Well, it's a world unto its own.
Potluck of culture, people, just
the music, all the history,
everything.
Just a sidebar. I felt like New Orleans was a guest star in the movie or in the documentary. Just for I didn't know. I've never been to New Orleans, and I didn't know that people that live in New Orleans don't hang out in the French Quarter, and that there's a East New Orleans, and that he met it was just everything was in the French Quarter in my mind. Like, you go to New Orleans, that's the only place. He was like, no, tourists go there.
That's what you see.
And it's just to show me, for you guys to show his town, his area where he grew up, where him and his wife met. Like, that was really nice to see the backdrop of New Orleans. I've never personally seen it. Like, you see the pictures before Katrina, after Katrina, in the French Quarter. That's all I ever see about New Orleans. But now I got to see East New Orleans. I got to see where John's from, where his wife is from. That was personalizing of the documentary. New Orleans it felt like every time New Orleans is in a documentary, it's a guest star, and it definitely was with that one too. So I like that.
Cool. Yeah, and actually,
that's all.
Actually, how John and I linked up is, this was one of the goals for making the short doc that we did, A Fresh Perspective, because he's not in the short doc. But after we produced the short doc and it started doing well on the festival circuit, I shared that with all of the business cards that I had from Fresh Fest, right? So everyone on those business cards that did a big blast, like, hey, it's out in festivals. I just want to let you got whoever was in it, thank you. This is how we want to keep this conversation going. By the way, we're expanding this into a film. We want to be done in the next couple of years. Let me know if you're interested. And he was the first person to reach out, and he told me his whole story about being the first Black-owned brewery in the South. I'm like, what? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Back to 2011 that they incorporated.
Wow. Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, and I don't even have my facility yet. I'm like, what? And then you have all these other breweries that have popped up in the meantime, post Katrina, and they just pop up. And he's going through all this racial BS, and you know, with all these letters of intent that he submitted, that they're like, no. And anyway, I don't want to give too much away, but his story was everything leading up to before I met him, or everything leading up to when I met him. They had done some self-documentation, and it was so compelling. Just being able to add all that into the film, you know, to take this the origin of his story back to 2011, and then winning that seed funds that they won, that grant that they won, and then, you know, you're thinking, okay, here's the brewery, and then no, they're in an office and they're doing their thing. So, no, I'm not giving too much away. Just the right amount, just the tease.
Hey, so, did you say she was the boss?
And that was one of the guys that people who saw the film, they're like, I'm rooting for this guy.
Right.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm curious to know if your 2018 Fresh Fest journey also coincides with your craft beer introduction. What year did craft beer, you know, kind of become like, when did it spark your curiosity? Was it 2018? Was it a bit back farther? And what really gravitated you to know about craft beer?
So I had tried craft beer a long time ago. It's like I remember having like Purple Haze, and I was like, nah, what is this nonsense? But this is like years and years.
Right.
And then we took a Christmas, New Year's trip to San Francisco, and that's when we started drinking some. To what at the time we felt like it was obscure. What is this? But we figured it's an adventure. Why not do it? But a few months after that, when it really hit, another aha moment for us was we went to Asheville, which was recently crowned Beer City.
Right.
And that was the first time that I had a flight of beer. It's like, you know, this amount of beer.
Yep.
Like a bunch of them, and then you can have a pint of that. Oh wow, let's do it. So I had a Farmer Ted's cream ale from Catawba Brewing, and it was subtle, sweet, you know, creamy. I'm like, oh, this is really delicious. And that just kind of, that whole vacation, we were just going around.
You were sprung, basically.
Yeah, it's just.
What year would you say around?
That was 2014. That's the beginning of 2014.
Got it. Okay.
And then the whole thing with just noticing that we were among the only people of color in tap rooms, I would say it was more like 2016, 2017, because the idea for the project was spawned in 2017.
Okay.
So we were like, yeah, this needs to be discussed.
The one thing that it isn't something that I just noticed, but I've noticed just with craft beer and breweries, there is still that there's the environment of just beer and brew and, you know, and alcohol, but the brewery vibe gives you that family feel, like where you don't feel like you're just there to just kind of socialize or go to a pub, where the old school way was just to, you know, sit at a bar, have a smoke, and like eat peanuts out of a bowl. It's become more of this, you know, hey, look, everyone's invited. We have some soft rules of like, you know, you can bring your family, but like after a certain time of night or day, like we would appreciate if you send your kids to bed but it's still, even the environment, even after that, is still cool, chill. It's not, it doesn't get rambunctious or rowdy. It's not like even the crowd changes. It just becomes just like that kind of, again, that kind of mature night. Like, what did you experience? That's my experience. So what did you experience like for the first time going into some of those breweries?
I think it's exactly what you said. And again, I mean, we never, other than being the only brown people in there, let's say, we never felt out of place. Everybody was welcoming, friendly. You know, you hang out, you talk to strangers, and then you leave, you never see them again.
Right.
So conversations. As far as being family friendly, I think it depends where you are.
Where you are.
You have a brewery that's downtown. I'm sure you get a different, clientele than if you have a brewery in the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
Where it's very family friendly, even at 10 o'clock at night sometimes, which is annoying. But it varies. But that's been our experience as well. And from what I know, I think breweries, tap rooms have always been historically like a gathering place.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes it attractive as well.
It's just, look, after a while, you have, let's say, random number, 7, 8 beers, and you get tipsy, and you look around, you're like, everyone else is tipsy too. I'm sure you get it. Just a slight discomfort sometimes. You're like, and it just
was that your discomfort noise?
I'm a little uneasy about this.
I don't know. It's just weird.
It's
weird. And then we figured, well, maybe there are other people out there that feel the same way. And turns out, when you ask Dave Bracey, co-founder of Fresh Fest, Now Barrel and Flow, he said that the reason that they started the festivals because they were sick and tired of being the only black people in tap rooms.
Right.
He
Absolutely.
says that every time.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I could say we made this film because we wanted to help in that goal. Diversification, any way we can help. Tap room staff, tap room owner, brewery ownership, patrons, any way that this film can affect someone's stance is why we're doing it.
I noticed that Brigitte says she didn't get that point where she feels uncomfortable in the brewery, but I'm pretty sure that you made other people feel uncomfortable in the brewery. You may not have known it, but a lot of times you may just be that type of person. Like me, myself, I'm the type of person that I don't care if somebody else, I'm not uncomfortable because I'm just me. Like I'm just doing me. But I know that my presence sometimes makes other people uncomfortable. Not that I care, but I know that they're uncomfortable. So I know that you say, nah, I don't get to the point where I feel uncomfortable. But sometimes it's people in those spaces that are uncomfortable with you being there.
Yeah.
They just ain't gonna say nothing to you because they can't. But
maybe that's what I was feeding off of. Because
that's probably what happened.
It's the subtle. It's very subtle. It's something as subtle as
they could look at you quick and like look away, or
maybe the three of us had this talk at Barrel and Flow. So it's as subtle as me sitting at the bar having a beer. There's let's say a white dude sitting next to me. I walk in, he says hi, but we don't talk. Another white dude comes in, brand new, sits down, and they yap it up.
Forever.
Well, yeah.
What's the difference between you and I?
Right. There you go.
What? So that's what Yoda's saying. Then I pick up that vibe.
Yep.
At that point.
Yeah.
Right? Like the guy who walked in fresh, he'll talk to me, but the guy next to me still won't talk to me.
Right.
Like but he won't make an effort.
Right. Exactly.
So it's those things that I think it's mostly what I'm picking up on.
Sure.
Gotcha.
Not like overt, like racist stuff. It's it's some microaggressions, man.
And then it's funny because the guy that said when you walked in and he said hello to you, that was already there. He only said hello because he felt like that was his way of saying, "Oh, I'm not uncomfortable with you being here." But really, he was saying, I'm uncomfortable with you being here.
He's just like doing what his mama taught him to do.
Right.
Oh, hi.
Going through the motion.
That's crazy.
So, given it 4 years is where you are, and sorry if I'm jumping around, like where do you, like, back to even part of Lou's question of like, how do you try to fit this all together? Like, what would you say is the timeline of when we will, get to, witness it in its entirety, or, like when we get to witness it in its entirety?
My favorite question of the day. So actually, we are having the world theatrical premiere at the Heartland International Film Festival next Sunday at 3:15 in Indianapolis.
Everything's happening next weekend, right? We've been talking about this all week, guys, right?
Yeah, it's that time of the year. 'Tis the season.
Yep. and it'll screen on I think it's the 10th. So let's see. Yeah, the 10th. Saturday. And it'll screen again, same theater, Con Cinema and Brasserie, on the 16th. And we have that info currently on our Instagram page, and I believe our Twitter page as well. But aside from that, it'll be participating in about 20 plus film festivals between October and November. And a combination of in-person theatrical screenings as well as virtual screenings. So folks that are unable to be at certain festivals, if that festival has a virtual component and you live in the States, you can buy a ticket and watch it in the comfort of your home on your big screen.
Nice.
So we can expect you to come to the cinema because we understand a lot of folks are still a little uncomfortable, but we hope you will consider coming. Right. But we're trying to be at as many of these events as it makes sense to be, in terms of where we can actually physically travel and go to, because there are events that we have that are overlapping. So we had to maybe go with the first one that invited us, so we can confirm and be there. But we will be at some of these festivals, and you'll get to talk to us just like this about the film, maybe about some of the issues in the film. Have a beer, make a decision, whatever you want.
So we can expect to see this on Netflix on.
That's right. Aim high, Yoda.
Put it out there.
That's right.
Netflix, Amazon Prime,
Amazon
Prime. I have an idea.
Hulu.
I have an idea that I want to share with you guys. After the show. So to that, like that's dope.
Speaking of the streaming platforms, though, what was funny? Nothing against you two, because we just met at the but when Rob was like, he wants to check it out, and he sends me the link, I'm like expecting, because I've seen documentaries done by people that I know, and I was expecting for more like a quote unquote bootleg looking like, I don't mean like,
be transparent.
I was expecting to look at something that looked like a homemade documentary, right?
No, sir.
I didn't expect it to be so professional. So when I'm watching it, I'm like, yo, like this is this type of documentary.
You're
like
captivated.
It made me automatically think of Netflix, and
it's legit.
It's definitely legit. It's definitely legit, because I think I even told Rob when I seen him, I'm like, yo, I thought this was gonna be some homemade documentary, but totally the opposite. The opposite.
That's
you guys
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, definitely.
Great feedback.
Now I had a question, just going back a little bit, because I know you said you thought. Well, two questions actually.
Sure.
You thought about the ideal. Thought about it in 2017. You said. And then the Fresh Press popped up for 2018. Did you be like, okay, well, I definitely am on the right idea. This is definitely an idea that actually has some legs to it. Or it was just something that happened to be like, oh, okay, because you actually were there in 2018. So was there something that just said, you know what, this shows me that I'm on the right path on this documentary?
That's exactly it. Just the fact that you start researching whatever statistics are out there. You also try, maybe research what's local to you, because that's easier to access than traveling all over the place. You know, budget, you got to consider budget too. You know, that's one of the reasons why we don't have someone from the West Coast in the film, but we've been told that it would still be a relatable story anyway. So the folks that we ended up with is what we needed to end up with. But yeah, it really did, because we were researching, going around Orlando, Tampa Bay, figuring out, oh, where are there Black-owned breweries or minority-owned breweries, or women brewers, and just calling up as much info as we could. And and that takes some time, because we both have jobs, so it's like do it on our spare time, and research. And one of the brewers that I had befriended locally, she's part of the Pink Boots Society, and she was brewing with her pink boots on. I just curious, what's with this pink boots thing? And she told me, and I liked the Pink Boots Facebook page with the intention of digging deeper at some point when we're ready. And then literally, I don't know, maybe a week or so after I'd liked the page, they shared an article about the upcoming Fresh Fest, and that landed in my Facebook feed. So it's that AI that's at work that sent that my way. And I was like, whoa, the first Black Beer Festival in history. We gotta go, at least just to go and meet people. And like Rob says, it's make sure we're gonna take the right path moving forward. And we sure as hell did from that point forward.
Nice. So we lost. You may have realized we lost Lou because he's coaching. He's at his son's basketball tournament, but he was able to text this question to us that before he dropped off. And I'm gonna ask the question, but I'm gonna clean it up a little bit because I think I understand what he's saying. He said, "Please ask how COVID and the Black is Beautiful campaign affected the movie." So I have a kind of question weaved into that is, as you can see, more and more films and more things that we see that's on the screen or just streaming in general, we're seeing it trickled into documentaries and the movies to actually capture this moment in history in this period of time. Black is Beautiful obviously came during the time of the pandemic, and will we get to see pieces of that in the film sprinkled in there? And again, to Lou's question, how did it affect the movie?
So as I think I mentioned this earlier, wasn't sure if he was with us at the time, but it affected the film in a good way. I mean, in a bad way, because it obviously wasn't planned, but in a good way, because it added, we just needed to keep going, and it added another layer of dramatic conflict to their stories, because they had to weather the storm. We're talking about folks that are trying to open breweries in the midst of this pandemic and all of these policies that are being handed down from the government, right? From state and local governments about, you can, you got to have a food license in order to sell beer. And it's like, what the hell? I don't have that kind of space here. I don't have the money for that. So it's all these things that were happening. So it just made the film more dramatic. And I think it will help place people when they see it, back in that time. I know what we all lived through it. We all, oh my goodness, look at what they had to deal with. In terms of Black is Beautiful, that provided for us a way to show the industry coming together, especially all the collabs that happened in a beautiful way. Something that we've never seen prior to this. Yes, we saw the All Together. There was Resilience, I think, right? Was another one.
I think so, yeah.
Far outgrew. Black is Beautiful, the biggest craft beer initiative, I think, in history. And just to see how everyone was awakened. It was everyone was making the beer and giving this money away to people that needed it, right? And collabing and giving more money away, and starting internships targeting BIPOC, right? So making sure they can do more than just, oh, we're just going to make this beer and that's it. We've done our part. No, doing more. And we wanted to capture that. So we had, I think we ended up shooting with over 20 breweries across the country, and we just picked the best of the best and added it into the film.
Now, another question I had that I guess now with all the film festivals that you are going to be a part of, and I think you had mentioned that you want to turn some of this information into a television series. Is that what you said? So how does that work? How do you keep both hats on, I guess, in terms of focusing on promoting the film, but also thinking ahead and like, well, this is what I want to do next. Like, how does that work? Is that when a producer comes in more involved, like, this is how we keep on task?
Well, one of the most important things actually when you go to film festivals is you always have to have your next project or 2 or 3 at least in mind or kind of in development, because audiences and programmers and even peers that you network with and meet at these events, they want to know what's next. They're like, oh my God, your film is great. What are you doing next? Because then you have a loyal follower.
Right.
Or even a producer or someone who might rep one of these streaming platforms, they're going to want to know. It's like, okay, if we're going to invest in your talent just for this doc, what are we getting? Can we get a doc? Can we get more docs? Can we get a series? Can we get more series? So we're kind of lining those ducks up. So when we go to places like Heartland and other events where, the chances are there will be some kind of representation from some of these platforms present. And if we can get some face time with them, we can pitch them what we're up to. Maybe a little bit informally, but then set up something more formal for later after the festival, At least make that initial contact, and we can give them the quick elevator pitch. Hey, this is, this project does this, and we want to expand it because there are, stories of Native American breweries and Hispanic and Latinx breweries and female owned and transgender owned breweries. I mean, there's so many stories that to be told, and a lot of them are beautiful stories. So why not?
Absolutely, that sounds like a good time.
Work.
So end to end, did you say earlier? I remember you said you were trying to get this within like a 80-some minute documentary. Is that correct? That once it is officially released, that it'll be 80 to 90 minutes. Okay. All right.
Yep. It's 89 minutes right now, and I don't see it getting any shorter or any longer.
No. There's nothing we can leave out of it anymore.
Yeah, there's no director's cut. I would say this is the director's and the producer's cut, and if the way that thankfully the way festivals have been responding to this version of it, there's really no reason to touch it. Just let it fly. Let it sling it across the bar.
Right, I agree, because it like I said, it looked like a finished product to me. So
it's done.
Yeah.
And it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed the documentary for sure. I enjoyed like the personal touches in terms of the emotional stories, in terms of even the personal story that they had in terms of like with John and even just going through when he was walking through the old movie theater. I guess that was what that was.
Yeah.
And talking about that, some of his favorite quotes, and even just seeing Elisa in doing the Latin dancing. So you had it was not just beer, it was just the whole, I guess, human experience documentary into it. So I really totally enjoyed it thoroughly. So I just want to give you all a hand clap for that. And I'm excited for people that especially on these excited for other people to experience it and see it, especially from this Emmy Award-winning director.
Right.
Yes.
Look at you.
Yes. Look at you.
Right. Well, I don't even think we asked. What did you win the Emmy for, though? Like, what projects was it?
So So I have 5.
Okay.
And
Wait, you got 5 projects or 5 Emmys?
5 Emmys.
Oh, okay.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it out here.
Are you sure you got? Yeah, you were supposed to hold on a little.
Yeah. Well, she was the one that was carrying them, so she would have been like, "No, we're just taking this one."
Yeah, she had hands.
There are 4 magazine television shows that I produced, and a couple of documentaries that I've produced.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what those are for.
Has this been the One Pint at a Time been your longest documentary or longest project? Let me put it that
Actually,
way.
yeah. In terms of runtime, yes.
Runtime, you mean? Like, okay.
Runtime
and years to put it together.
Yeah.
So you're gonna like this story. So my debut documentary, which I filmed almost entirely in Taiwan,
Wow.
that took 10 years to complete.
Wow. Wait, where's that at? I need to see that.
I'll send you a link.
Yeah, send it.
And that took 10 years.
Wow.
As a gentleman,
From
it was
start to finish.
Yeah, it's a gentleman. Well, we were also trying to raise money, so there was a lot of time blown doing that. But when we finally got some funds, we went. But it was a young man who I met here. He's an Asian American dude, very nice guy, and he had lost his mom to cancer, and he took her back to Taiwan in spirit because they were from Taiwan. They were an army family. They bounced around the country. And he took her back in spirit. And when he went to reunite with his relatives that he hadn't seen in forever, he discovered that they weren't like the traditional, like from mainland China. They weren't related culturally to mainland China. They were related to indigenous tribes that he didn't even know existed in Taiwan.
Wow.
That these cultures were disappearing because all of these elders that had these original facial tattoos, they were dying off one by one. Like they were, because they were like in their 90s, 100 years old. Blah, blah, blah. So I followed him and his wife and brother on that journey.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful documentary too.
Right.
I'll send you a link. We were in
you got to.
It's called Voices in the Clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Voices in the Clouds. Yeah, I would like to watch that.
Yeah.
I'm here for documentaries.
I guess my final question. I don't know if anybody else has one, but who came up with the name One Pint at a Time?
I did.
Okay. Is that how you just? I mean, because that's how you drink it at the bar, 1 pint at a time. You said once you get to 8.
That's the best way to make change.
There you go.
Is 1 pint at a time. You have a pint, you know, and in that pint, there's a lot of culture and history and stuff that went into that, making that pint.
All right, there it is.
Think about that. Like that 1946 that Dev drank is just incredible. You know, there's a story there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like that, just that idea of things changing or like the future being reshaped 1 pint at a time. And just the mere fact that these Black brewers are in this film, they're doing what they're doing, they're existing in this space of craft beer. They are the ones, and the other ones, the experts too, like Beer Culture and Dr. J and then Pink Boots. They're all together reshaping the future of the beverage.
So they're all the pints. Oh,
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
I guess.
Hey, you got a taster though. So 1 taster at a time tonight. All right. Any more questions for
nope.
Aaron,
Well, I just finished my beer. I just finished my pint.
There you go.
My can is empty.
I don't have any more questions, but I will say congratulations on the project.
Yes.
And I wish you guys the best of luck with getting it to where you guys want it to be.
Right. We definitely want to see it on Amazon Prime or Netflix or Apple. It's a million streaming platform. Somebody said anything but
you're mentioning the right ones. Those
right. I was about to say everything but Tubi.
Like I want to see it not only because I want to see you guys succeed even further than what you have, and not only just because it's a good story, but so I could also say, "Oh, I know them."
Selfish
notoriety up in there.
Yeah.
I know them folks.
So anytime I do an interview, I'll be like, "Yeah, so one pint at a time." Yeah, I know them.
I know them. They my folks.
Right. So when you're getting that, because it's a Fujifilm, so now it would be in the running for an Oscar type of thing. So you'd be like, oh yeah, Oscar
it would be more of like, well, that it would take a lot for us to be eligible for an Academy Award, but
you never know.
But
yeah,
it would be eligible for like a national Emmy.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we're gonna
cost a lot of money to submit, so we'll see.
Right. Okay. We're gonna. Well, speaking of that, and I guess we can go. There's like if somebody wanted to like support the movement, I know you have on T-shirts. Like, can people buy merchandise, or is there a way they can help support any of the projects you're going to do?
Not yet, but yeah, I do want to make a page where people can support, donate, anything, because right now the film is finished, right? But we do a lot of the marketing.
Right.
Get the distribution. So we are working up on setting up a funding page, let's say, for that. Okay. And yeah, I would say though that just follow us on all the social media, as it says there on the screen, at One Pint Film. The major ones, you can find us under that name. Also, onepintfilm.com, that's the website. I'm actually should be finishing up the screenings page today, and hopefully, within the next week or two, set up the funding page as well.
Okay.
There it is.
Nice.
And yeah, I would like to say, to you guys, thank you for having us, connecting with us at the beer fest, but also having us on today and for being ambassadors, for One Pint.
Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely enjoyed it. And hey, if we
like to support. Yeah, I married her.
That's right.
I got that. Yeah. Well, that's what she's the closer.
Right. I started yapping and then I just sidestep.
There you go. I'm gonna leave this part up to her. Nice.
That's right.
That's what's up. All right. Before we go, we always like to know how people can find everybody. I know Brigitte already wrapped up One Pint at a Time. She said all the platforms you see right there on your screen: IG, Twitter, Facebook, at One Pint at a Time, One Pint Film. Dev, how can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram for everything beer related. Dev Drinks Craft Brew.
I hate when he says everything beer related, but you can find me on Instagram at IM302YODA. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you said 302 this time.
I said that.
You've been doing well.
I said that because Lou not on here.
So when there's no supervision,
get out of hand. I didn't want to get in trouble.
All right. And you can find Bruising Banter Podcast on Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere there's the podcast. You can follow the page at Instagram, Facebook, and Bruising P on Twitter. You can follow me, Rob G. There it is, Rob Stay Bruising. You can also go to www.bruisingbanter.com. You can get the merch, find out all the places that we are streaming. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Starting today. Today was the first
live stream on Twitch. Okay.
And nice. Next Saturday, we are co-hosting our very first beer fest here in Delaware for all of our viewers, listeners.
Delaware.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah. We're excited.
Yeah. For people who listen, you can still get tickets. I know they're going fast. But if you want to, the promo code is Brew Crew. You can save 10% on the ticket as well. This has once again I want to thank Brigitte and Aaron Hosé from One Pint at a Time.
You got it.
For coming through. This is episode 137.
137.
Right? 137.
All the way to heaven.
I'm pretty sure that sounds right to me.
Yeah, I think so. 137.
137.
Somewhere around there.
Until next time, have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Peace.
Stick around for our outro music.
Rob is crazy.
What? That's what he normally say. I was just saying.
You ain't even ready.
I was just saying what he was saying.
Oh, there we go. The music play. Hey.
Whoa. Now I'm switching up my energy. Fuck my enemies. Feel like I got hundreds of them. No love for me.